Critics ripping CNN as the network appears to take no action after one of its star anchors, Chris Cuomo, is forced to admit he did in fact take part in strategy meetings with his brother, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's team, to fight off sexual harassment allegations. The Washington Post first reported it. Chris Cuomo then last night said this.
My family means everything to me, and I am fiercely loyal to them. I'm family first, job second. When my brother's situation became turbulent, being looped into calls with other friends of his and advisors that did include some of his staff, I understand why that was a problem for CNN. It will not happen again.
Okay, so just keep that in your mind. You know how he really thinks. Not the viewer, but his family comes first when he's doing his job. Here's what the CNN anchor told viewers back when the sexual harassment scandal was breaking.
Obviously, I'm aware of what's going on with my brother. And obviously, I cannot cover it because he is my brother. Now, of course, CNN has to cover it. They have covered it extensively, and they will continue to do so.
Steve, what is the problem with this?
Well, the problem is that it's totally incoherent, inconsistent, ludicrous, unintelligible, unintelligent. This guy is just completely implausible on any level. Let's just pick apart some of the more obvious bits of nonsense in what he's been saying. So
Which one are you talking about?
Well, both of them. Let's talk about Chris for the moment. So he says, I can't talk about my brother because of this sexual harassment story. Obviously, I can't cover it. Well, he didn't have a problem covering his brother when he thought the story was positive for his brother, when he thought that it would help his brother's reputation to praise him obsequiously over his handling of the virus, even though we now know that his handling was a complete catastrophe. But back in the day, Chris Cuomo had no problem at all going on and on about how fantastically his brother was doing when he thought that it was a positive story. Let's look at the sexual harassment aspect of this. What is he saying? That, when sexual harassment is done by my brother, then it's okay. It's ridiculous. This is the kind of thing that if you were of the mindset of the left, you would say that Chris Cuomo is complicit in the sexual harassment. That's the kind of language they use. So on every level, whether he's providing pushing misinformation on the virus about how his brother handled it, about every aspect of it, if you actually watch his coverage, he's not a journalist, he's a propagandist. He's a propagandist for the Democrats now. He's a propagandist. He was a propagandist for his brother. He's complicit, in the language of the left, in the sexual harassment. This guy is just ludicrous. So I mean, the idea that he's there pontificating about these important stories, to me, is just laughable, because he is completely a laughable and non-plausible figure, and that's the reason they should get rid of him.
So I'm confused, Kaylee, by why CNN doesn't take some action here. Because, on the broad edges of this are legal investigations. Not everything is completely focused in on the Cuomo brothers, right? So you don't want complicity on the part of the network because of something that's coming out of his mouth. And now that we've seen two different versions of how he's going to do his job, it doesn't seem like either one of them has CNN in mind.
Sure. No, they don't. That's why I agree with Chris Smith at the New York Post, who said CNN now stands for the Cuomo Nepotism Network. It is laughable that he did not either get fired or in the very least disciplined, because there's a lot more to this Washington Post story about him advising his brother on the sexual assault allegations. Buried near the end of it, it says he was always a close confidant of the governor, and he advised him on COVID issues. Okay, so I want to know, when were those conversations taking place? How many of them were there? They make one reference saying he advised him that the state needed to get more PPE, but was he doing this while he was bringing on his brother for fawning interviews? Was he advising on nursing homes?
Let's compare the dates.
There are a lot of questions. Yes, I'd like to see the dates.
Let's compare the dates. It's not hard because, it's on video. So you just Google it. Exactly. I want to get to this part of the coverage, though. The women's activist group Ultraviolet is calling for CNN to suspend Chris Cuomo, saying Quote, make no mistake, this wasn't just a brother talking to his brother about their lives or even about politics. This was a major network news anchor advising the governor of New York to actively push against sexual harassment allegations and denigrate survivors of abuse by defining their calls for accountability as cancel culture. CNN should immediately suspend Chris Cuomo and conduct a thorough investigation into whether or not his position of authority at the network has impacted how others covered the allegations against his brother. Governor Cuomo, any less is unacceptable. So add that to what Kayleigh just said, and they need to take, what do we call it? Some daylight to this, Kennedy, because that's always the best forensic. Let's disinfectant. Let's see what's beneath everything here.
Yeah, they need to go through the painful steps of, having an outside law firm really take apart this story and make sure that there weren't clear violations here. Because if there are other women at the network who feel silenced because of Chris Cuomo's actions, that's something that they definitely have to look at. And also ideologically, this is Ultraviolet is, a further left organization. And when you start losing that part of your base and your viewership, you're in real trouble. And it's same thing with Andrew Cuomo. It's Democrats who have called on him to resign. And I can only imagine the hubris in those phone calls like, hey, bro, don't ever resign. You're amazing. These girls are just jealous of you. And that was the line that Andrew Cuomo used. And it's disgusting. The way that he has been victim shaming throughout this, not to mention, we're not even talking about all the families who lost loved ones because of his COVID policies. But the two of them together, there really does need to be the kind of investigation, that frankly we've gone through here at Fox.
Well, we're not talking about those things with regard to CNN because they're not covering those things. I mean, how much of the nursing home death scandal have you seen on CNN? I don't know how many hours you watch of them, but the number is low from what's been reported. Let's see if that ticks up now that Chris Cuomo has promised that, he's told us who he is. He puts his family first before his journalism on the job. I don't care what he does in his private life. Of course they should be first. Emily?
Well, and Harris, what we do know is that Chris interviewed his brother 11 times on the network. That's a statistic that we have. And I think the gaslighting going on is so ridiculous. Chris gets on air and says, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. I put my colleagues in a bad spot. He continues that bro mentality, my brother, my brother. He wants the viewer to see Governor Cuomo as a brother rather than this governor that has been accused of really serious things, is under 3 to 5 different investigations, and is facing criminal and civil probes. I mean, this entire thing has been reduced to, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was my bad that I sit in on that. And by the way, where were those attorneys in those staff meetings who saw, or in the strategy meetings, who saw also at the table, proverbial table, staff members? It is ridiculous to have those be in the strategy meetings with, again, this primetime anchor. It is obviously clearly a problem in so many ways, and I'm not quite sure why it got that far and was allowed. I don't know how big, to Kennedy's point about the hubris, these guys walk in the room, oh, I'm gonna sit here too, I'm gonna be on this call also, and everyone just says, okay, absolutely not, get out of here. And the bros can talk to each other afterward. But the fact that they were so wrapped up with this does have real world implications for CNN. I 100% agree. And the irony too is in our A block when we discussed the bad apple Martin Bashir and then that culture of enablement that made people complicit at BBC. Watch out, CNN.